Welcome to the Nurturing Greatness podcast. If you are completely satisfied with the education landscape as it is right now, this podcast is not for you. But if you are ready for change and motivated to disrupt the current system, then we invite you to keep listening. This podcast will explore what it really means to cultivate brilliance in ourselves, in our students, and in the systems that we lead. I'm Dr. Tonya Breland.
And I'm Dr. Erika Leak. And together through the Nurturing Greatness movement, we are committed to high expectations, asset-based leadership, and creating environments where and I said every learner, is challenged and affirmed and seen. In each episode, we'll sit down with leaders, educators, and change agents who are committed to the deep work of transformation. This does not happen in a year, right? So today's guest doesn't just speak about the culture, he architects it. He is a nationally recognized educator, empowerment coach, and founder of No Box Thinking. I can't wait till he talks to you about what that means. Through his frameworks like the EQ mode, which I had the pleasure of learning more about during his session at the Nurturing Greatness Summit at Seton Hall in South Orange, New Jersey. He has built systems that blend faith, identity, strategy, and student voice into a bold movement that reshapes classrooms, teams, and entire communities. And that's what we're talking about. So, from urban campuses to championship locker rooms, he challenges students and leaders alike to win the day. You probably hear about that too, to walk in purpose and reclaim identity and build cultures where every person matters and every day counts, because it does. His work centers on turning rejected stones into cornerstones. I love that, cornerstone leaders, and ensuring that transformation is not just emotional, but structural.
Absolutely. And I'm highlighting, I'm going to highlight each of us here on the screen. That way,
Mm-hmm.
when it comes through, you'll see it a little bit better. But on this episode of the Nurturing Greatness podcast, we are honored to welcome Jonathan Kegler,
Yes.
culture architect, empowerment coach, and legacy leader. Jonathan, before we explore the frameworks, the movement, and the impact, we'd love to begin at the root. Who first nurtured greatness in you?
Oh, it's a great question. Great question. And I want to take it back to my roots and talk about my family.
Please do.
It was a gumbo of greatness that I
Mm.
simmered in. And I'll tell you that my great grandmother started with cooking for the pastor every Sunday. So they would come to my great grandmother's home. And then she passed that tradition to my grandmother. So I was always around the table and just getting little crumbs from some of the most brilliant minds, some of the most spiritual minds. I mean, you name it. I was just soaking up all that they had. But the gumbo, I liken it to because I had an uncle who was from, Southeast Texas, very close to Louisiana. And he would always talk about the root. And he was
Mm.
like, you just got to keep staring. You got to keep staring.
Mm.
If you get the root right, everything else will fall into place.
Mm.
So I feel like my greatness was right at the beginning. And I was trained up in the way that they should go. I said that at Seton Hall because when I walked in, it said if two or more gathered in my name, so in my
Yes.
presence. So as soon as I walked on the campus, I was like, oh, I'm at home. I'm at
Exactly.
home. Like it's cold outside, but it's about to warm up in this
I know
building
that's right.
because I'm about to take them to church.
There
And
you
not
go.
the physical building, but just the congregation of coming together. And I think
Mm.
that's what made me. I had an uncle and a mentor that, he would always help me. And he said, you know what? You can learn from everybody you come in contact with. And he
Yeah.
broke it down in such a way that he was like, you learn the good and the bad, the happy
Mm.
and the sad,
Yeah.
joy and pain.
There you go.
I'm a music enthusiast, so
Yes.
I love music. But Mays talked about joy and pain, and sometimes we go through that maze of life and we
Yes.
miss out on opportunities. So I was kind of
Mm.
that Aquila and the Bee growing up where everybody around me was my coach. I pulled the
Mm-hmm.
greatest from everybody else. And so when you see the ultimate disruptor in me, you see a little bit of everybody in my life
Yeah.
came together that mentored me, that poured into me. And most importantly, I said it at Seton Hall and I'll say it now. My greatness was nurtured and went to another level 9 months after my wife became pregnant and we had Jameson.
Mm.
And I always say that any environment I go into and saying it at Seton Hall and him sitting in the crowd, it hit different for me and for him. But if
Mm.
it's not good enough for Jameson, it's not good enough for anyone else.
I
That's
love
Like
that.
right.
literally, he was the fertilizer that made me grow into something totally different because
Mm.
I had my own. It was
Yeah.
personal for me. And so when I envision any other student, any other coach, any other mentee, whoever I'm pouring into, I envision Jameson. And I'm like, if it's not good enough for him, it's not good enough for them. So I always give my all. So I'm a gumbo melting pot of greatness, and it just oozes out of me because all the people I come in contact with, I'm taking from them. I'm taking
I
from them.
Yeah,
love that. Love that.
I do
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
I do
So
too.
you mentioned the ultimate disruptor. You've got to now tell us
You have to tell us
a
about it.
little bit more about that ultimate disruptor.
So it's like I go into systems, and I was at my Impact Leadership Academy. So I started an all boys school about 3 years ago, like
Mm.
from the ground up, literally wrote script for script for script. And so I built that to a certain extent. And then the district came to me like, we don't know. We need you somewhere else. And it was the lowest middle school in Houston. You know how large Houston is. Third largest city in the US. So
Mm.
lowest school in Houston. And I'm like, I had a chance to do my turnaround. I did that 4 times. So I'm like, I want to build something new. I want to do it right the first time.
Sure.
Yeah.
But they said, okay, on your resume, it says turnaround principal. So you know how that goes. Resumes, people put anything on those now. GPT will spit you out a perfect one that you'll get the job and you'll ace it. But it was about the inside. So when I was at this school, I was doing some things, I was disrupting some things, and one person said, you're just a disruptor. I said, no, you got it wrong. I went back to my WWF days with the Ultimate Warrior. And whenever he came into the ring, he's grabbing the ropes and
Yeah, yeah.
the environment changed. I said, no, I'm the ultimate
Mm.
disruptor because any environment I come into is going to change.
Yeah.
And it stuck from there. And I just started going with it. And it really was something that I took something, like you mentioned in the beginning, my intro. I took that rejected stone and I made it into the cornerstone.
Mm-hmm.
Like the ones that nobody saw fit, the disruptors, the ones that they just wanted to put to the side.
Yeah,
I'm like, no, that's the one for me. The
that's right.
pun, because I had at the all boys school, they wouldn't give me sports. They kept fighting me. I'm like, it's a boys school. I got to have something competitive. So I said, you know what? You're not knowing me, Mr. No Box. I'm going to bring in chess because I had chess at every school I've been at before. Left,
Mm-hmm.
right brain, EQ mode. Like it's the perfect marriage. So when I brought in chess, I went into the room and I said, who in here has a move named after them? And the boys looked at me like, what are you talking about? They didn't really even know all the pieces yet. I said, you'll understand what I'm talking about. I
Mm.
came back about a month later, right before we went to the biggest tournament in Houston. And I said, who doesn't have a move? And they were like, what are you? So I started naming off moves. I said, every master has a move named after them.
Yeah.
When you climb up
Mm.
in the ranks, I want you to see yourself as a grandmaster now before
Mm.
you even
Love
get to
it.
it.
Love it.
We went to the largest tournament in Houston, and we won over 120 some odd games, set a record. And it
Wow.
was little brown and black boys that nobody saw coming.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Like literally, I'm taking boys to tournaments, and chess is an affluent environment. They don't really have just any. It's a selective club. It's almost a
yeah.
country club game.
That's right.
We took some boys to a game, and he got called the N word.
Mm.
But the resolve and what I had already poured into him, he came to us. He came to his leadership and said, this happened. This was not right. We
Yeah,
went to the tournament director. That student got removed. And we stopped going to places where we were tolerated, and we
yeah.
started putting them in places where they were celebrated.
I know
We
that's right.
disrupted the whole thing. Went
Yeah.
to Atlanta at the end of the year and ended up the 7th ranked team in the nation. But it was all
Mm.
because I
Wow.
was willing to disrupt the system
That's right.
that didn't want to give the boys what they needed. So
Right. That's
that's
right.
ultimate disruptor in a nutshell.
Thank you.
Yes.
No, that was
That's
great.
awesome. That is awesome. And I love that we talked about the asset-based leadership, right? So what are the assets here? So some ranking might have them low for factors that have nothing really to do with them, right?
Exactly.
But you go in there and say like, well, what do we have here? And let's sort of go with that. And I love the spirit of competition because kids they'll just rise to the level of our expectations. That's what they do, right?
Hmm.
That's
Yes.
what we
Amen.
do,
Yes.
So we'd like to know, like, if you could sort of, and I know you have several, but if you could drill
Mhm.
it down to one belief
Mhm.
about students or about leadership that we
Mhm.
have to release
Yes.
if we are going to be serious about transformation. You talked about the turnaround, right? Being a turnaround principle, and I know that you did that. But what's the belief that has to be we have to let go if we're
That
going to see true transformation?
That a pawn doesn't matter. A pawn is
Mm,
the smallest piece on the chessboard.
Mm,
However, when you move it strategically and you get it across, it promotes to any piece on the board.
that's
mm,
good.
And that's the thing for me. I promote pawns. So if I distill it down to the smallest thing, I promote pawns. I promote the smallest. And I help them
mm.
find their voice. And then I help them advocate for their needs, but more importantly, for others' needs. And
Yeah.
when we can do that, we can make the world a better place by training them up.
Awesome.
That's really good.
Yeah, it
That's
is
really
good.
good. I like the analogy with the pawns, because people can understand that. Well, if they understand chess, I'm not a chess player. My husband's a chess player, but I at least know that the pawn is the little piece. I do know that much.
Yes.
And I know the queen wins. I know that much.
There we
There
go.
That's all I
you
know.
go.
That's about
There you
all I
go.
know.
Exactly.
But that analogy I think is a powerful analogy, especially given that you have trained these young men to be able to play the game and compete at national levels. I think that's really important. That speaks to the expectations that you have for them. I want
Yes,
you to
ma'am.
talk a little bit more about those high expectations,
Mhm.
and what do high expectations look like without harm?
They look like I got you. And so, in the traditional sense, now you're talking to a disruptor and a no box thinker. So
Yeah.
when you hear that, don't stick to the old traditional way. But I got you in that I have your back through it all. I'm
Mm,
here to support you. I'm here to nurture you. I'm here to push you. I'm here to help you thrive. And if I can help you thrive in any situation, we had 20% of our student at that all boys school special education labeled.
mm,
And we
mm.
didn't use that as an excuse.
Mhm.
Sure.
Out of our boys that actually played on the chess team, we had 10 to 15 that had special education backgrounds
Mm,
that soared, that were brilliant on the chessboard. So why not in the classroom?
sure.
Right.
And so that was my expectation. And I take that for the students, but I take that same thing for the teachers. I'll go into a room and hijack a lesson just because I'll start asking questions because I've been in the plan and I know where the teacher's going. But I'll come
Hmm.
in and I'll let them know I'm here for you. I'm not here
Right.
to critique you. I'm not here to write you up. I'm not here to get rid of you. I'm here to support you, and whatever you need, you know you can come to me. I'm going to fight for you. And I think
Hmm.
that's the biggest thing. When we can start doing that and realizing that, it's game over. It's game changed.
Hmm.
So I think for me, that's the biggest thing. I got you. No matter what, I
Yeah.
have your back. And I'm not here to close the gate. I'm here to bust it wide open and
There you
say, let's
go.
go. It's enough room for
Yeah.
Yeah.
everyone.
So you know what I like about that? When you talked about, because I was a principal, turnaround principal as well. But when you talked about the expectations that you have for the students on the chess team,
Mhm.
and how they are excelling on the chess
Yes.
team, but not excelling in the classroom.
Mhm.
Obviously, that speaks to what's happening instructionally,
Yeah.
or what
Exactly.
might be happening to the relationships. And I'm just a strong believer that that every child really can be successful, and
Hmm.
Yes.
every child really has brilliance.
Yep.
Yes.
We we can see that.
Exactly.
I'm not sure why it is that not every educator can see that,
Mhm.
where these children are coming into the classroom. But I'd love for you to just kind of expound upon, like, what do you do then? So
Yes.
that they're capable. You've seen their capability, the
Exactly.
fact that they can participate in this elite game.
Yes, ma'am.
And I say elite intentionally
No, for sure.
because we know that it's not typical for little black boys to play chess.
Exactly.
Most people, when they think of little black boys playing, they're thinking about them playing outside,
Exactly.
playing
Hmm.
hoop, playing
Exactly.
Hmm.
ball. Like,
Mhm.
they're not thinking about them as scholarly in any sense. So
Right.
Exactly.
talk about how you address that,
Yes,
and
ma'am.
even the beliefs around what educators in the building perhaps may have seen when they
Yes.
looked at these boys,
No, for
and
sure.
how you push them and help elevate them.
So I think it was me going in and asking them about that move named after them. That just planted the seed. So we're talking about
Mm.
nurturing greatness, right? So whenever you have grass, you have to fertilize it well
Sure.
before anybody else thinks. It has to
Mm.
be a perennial thing for you. So perennial greatness is what I wanted to plant for them. So I gave them an acronym: LEAD, leadership, entrepreneurial thinking, advocacy, and determination. I melded that into every single thing that they did.
Yeah.
So I talked about me being a gumbo of greatness. So everything that was me, I gave to them. So they
Hmm.
had an advocate in me. any teacher, any parent, any other student that wasn't treating them right, they had a beeline to come to me. Like, I'm like, get up out of the class and just come to me. Don't worry about anything. I'll fix everything. And sometimes that rubbed the bigger students in the building wrong, if you get my drift, the teachers.
Yeah.
But at
Absolutely.
the end of the day, I'm like, I'm here for the students. And
Mm-hmm.
I'll go to bat for them. I'll fight for them. But when I gave them those 4 core elements, they began to see themselves in a different light, because before they came to the all boys school or any school that I'm at or any team that I coach, they've been cast aside.
Yeah.
They've been overlooked. And I think that was the biggest thing for me about the conference that we had. When I came in, I felt apart from the very beginning.
Mm.
One of you guys had a husband. He was putting up, he was putting up something. I was like, I rolled up my sleeve. I'm like, how can I help?
Mm.
That's just me,
Mm-hmm.
because when I came in, it was almost like the OJs had a song, Family Reunion.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I love that.
everybody comes together,
Yeah.
the game changes. And,
Yeah.
and so that's my biggest thing. If I can empower you and give you the tools that you need, now I'm going to empower you, but I'm going to hold you accountable more than anybody else too. I'm going to
That's
get
it.
on your tail when it's not right.
Yeah.
Now I'll give you a story, and then I know we'll move to the next one. But so ICE was this big thing that started about, a year or two ago. And I had a student to come to me because my door was wide open for any student.
Mm-hmm.
And a student came to me, he closed the door, he said, Mr. Kegler, I'm gonna tell you, I've been a kind of a little rough student in the past, but this year I'm trying to do better. You've helped me. And he had became the leader of our ROTC, junior ROTC.
Mm.
That's how well he was doing under my leadership. But he closed the door and he said, he was in tears. He said, I don't know, with this ICE stuff, I don't know what's going to happen next. I don't have my papers. I don't have my documentation. I wasn't born here. And I'm worried and I'm nervous because I don't know when I leave home if my parents are going to be there. And I held him then and I said, you know what? I said, you don't have to worry about anything. I'm going to be here to fight for you no matter what. I'm going to vouch for you. We're going to give you supports. If something were to happen to your family, if you have to, I'll do the paperwork and you can come live with me.
Mm.
That was in the first of the year.
Wow.
His maturation and growth throughout that year was astronomical. Never passed the STAR test, which is our state examination. He aced all 3 that he had to face that year. Like I
Wow.
said, he led the junior ROTC to actual winning some things. And he was almost like the drill sergeant. And I come through the hallway and say, I don't like that. Start it over. He make them start over. Y'all heard Mr. Kegler, we got to go win this competition. He was smiling from ear to ear when he was able to bring home the trophy to our school.
Wow.
But it was all because he had that weight taken off of his shoulders.
Yeah.
So many of our kids, and I talked about this with our EQMO, but the trauma that's inflicted, sometimes people don't take the time to see it or hear it.
That's right.
Correct.
And
That's
they just gloss over the fact of everybody's dealing with something.
Yeah.
Even if I'm dealing with, I'm the leader. So I got to be poured into outside. But when I step foot here, everything that's meant to stifle and to handicap anybody in my way, I got to disrupt it.
Yes.
And if I don't, I'm doing them a disservice. So
Yeah.
that's my thing. Pouring into people like none other and giving them that lead acronym takes them to another level.
Yeah, I just love that sense of personal responsibility because I've just been in systems where nobody's taking responsibility and, whatever the outcomes are, it's like, well, that's on those kids and those families, as opposed to this is my, my classroom or my building and I'm responsible for what happens here. And so it's culture, right? Like it's really sort of like the culture of the space. And when we think about shifting the culture, so that the greatness is nurtured in the individuals, particularly our students. If you could sort of drill it down, and I know this is like kind of tough because I see the holistic nature, I see the systems level nature of your approach. But if you could say like, if everybody could just start here, like what is one practice you think that educators or leaders could implement tomorrow
Yes, ma'am.
that would begin to shift the culture or even immediately shift the culture? What would you say that is? What would you name that as?
Oh man, I got a handy tool for that one.
Okay.
I keep it in my pocket, and it's my coaching pedigree and background, but it's actually a universal recall. So when, and when I say when, I want you to call back the day. When?
When?
No, when I say
Wait.
when, you say the day.
The
When?
day.
Oh,
Okay.
the day.
When?
The
The
day.
day.
Okay, so
Oh, that
that's
because
all it is.
that's your thing. Win the
Exactly.
day.
Win the
Yes.
day.
So people see that, but they miss that simple thing. Like anytime I come into a room, I train my teachers that beginning of the year, and I train my whole campus. So I've had 1,000 students that go crazy and wild, and I'll come into the room and I'll say when, they'll say the day, and it gets quiet because you got to
Mm,
find whoever's in charge, whoever said that, because something's coming after it.
mm,
So that is a universal refocus, a universal recall, but it's actually a universal principle. Every single day, no matter how rough, how tough it gets. And I've had some people come to me at hour 7, minute 59 with 59 seconds, and they get out at 8 hours. But they'll come to me and they're sad, they're frustrated, the day didn't go well, the lesson didn't go well, whatever. Their girlfriend broke up with them, they had a flat tire. And I sit them down and I tell them this one thing. I distill it down to the one that you asked. I say, no matter what happened today, I want you to find a way to still win.
mm.
And if we can find a way, no matter what happens, to win, now think about it. We win day 1, day 2, day 4, day 5. We've won the week, right?
Right.
We win week 1, 2, 3, 4. We've now won the
Month,
month.
Month.
We win month 1 through 10. Now we've won the year.
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 But it all started
Hmm.
singularly with your question with winning the day.
Yeah.
Too many of us are focused on the problem and not the solution. We're focused on the drama and not the
Hmm.
winning. Like
Hmm.
focus on winning and everything else will follow.
That's
Now, am I
it.
talking about prosperity preaching? No, I'm just talking about finding a way to win, whatever that
Mm.
looks like, however that is for you. And if you can do that, then build upon that. And then from there, you start to experience success, and then success starts to become your ethos. That's just
Yeah.
how you do.
It really does. I could see how that absolutely would change the atmosphere.
Yes.
Absolutely would change
Hmm.
the atmosphere. Um, and and it's so needed in this day and time where the systems around us are saying that we're invisible, we don't
Mhm.
matter, um, we're not valued. Now, I did see something today. I actually posted it that said that they are changing the Department of Education is backing off of this whole thing around diversity, equity, and inclusion, and educational equity now is something that schools can address.
Exactly.
But it there's the message has already been sent
Right.
Yes.
that we're not important, and
Exactly.
that
Mhm.
gets translated to students in a way that can bring them down. And
Right.
so I love your message of winning the day,
Mhm.
because if they're winning the day, they're now you're flipping it on its head. You're
Exactly.
causing them to have to look at it from a different lens
Yes, ma'am.
Hmm.
and have a different perspective about the day. So maybe something doesn't go right, but it's okay
Mhm.
because there are things that did go right. And let's
Exactly.
focus on what did go right and how
Yeah.
we can, cultivate that.
Yes, ma'am.
And that is, I think, a form of brilliance, if you will, and helping students to see their brilliance. But if you can, in one sentence,
Yes, ma'am.
what does cultivating brilliance
Mhm.
require of us as leaders? If you can respond to that, like in one sentence, what does cultivating brilliance require of us as leaders?
So I go to my favorite commercial when I was a kid, and it was I don't want to grow up. I'm a Toys R Us kid.
Remember that
I
Be
do.
be a kid at heart.
always,
Mm.
Never lose that.
Mm.
always.
I love that. I love that. I really enjoyed this conversation. I really have. Like, thank you so much for
Yes.
joining us. So before we end, tell our listeners where they could find you or if they want to reach out to you or learn more about your work.
So Jonathan Kegler on any social media platform
Okay.
that'll get you to me. And then my email that they can definitely reach out to me at is no box thinking, all one word,
Mhm.
coach K at gmail.com. And like I said, I'm willing to reach out to partner with anyone just to be a thought partner because sometimes that's all we need is just somebody to bounce things off of. So yeah, that's how they can reach me. Any socials, Jonathan Kegler, and then no box thinking, coach K at gmail.com.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome. Yes, thank you. So, thank you all for joining us for this episode of the Nurturing Greatness podcast. If this conversation challenged you, affirmed you, or just gave you something practical to implement, share it with a colleague and join the movement.
Visit nurturinggreatness.info to join the movement, explore our services, upcoming events, and resources designed to support your nurturing greatness journey. And until next time, keep nurturing greatness.